Hello? Oh, I'm live. I know I should schedule these and plan these. However, I'm not, I'm just trying to get into it. So anyway, sorry about that. Erin from Mosaic Filled Life. I'm so happy you're here. We are going to paint today as promised. And I just wanted to go over a few things. First, remember when I shared yesterday this paint palette idea for you? I just want you to see the paint is still really good. And this is all the paint that I poured out yesterday. And there's proof that it's still good. That was kind of silly, wasn't it? This is all the paint that I poured out yesterday. And normally acrylic paint has like an hour. Maybe. Secondly, I got my coffee. Like, I worked overnight again last night. So many times, this is how I am in my studio. So this is what you get too. Sorry about that, but I'm not sorry because this is the real me. And I truly believe in authenticity. So this is what you get is what you see is what you get. Thirdly, we're going to paint today, and we are going to paint over, a canvas that I worked up for a different event. And, you're going to see that a lot. So we're going to be rotating through about 5 canvases. I'm excited about that because I can't wait to see the kind of texture it starts to create. Number one, I think that'll be really cool. Number two, it helps us release this idea that we gotta be perfect and just use one canvas per whatever. When we're practicing, we can do whatever we want. And yesterday we finished this. I added a tree here yesterday, but I just wanted to give a close-up. There's the scratches that we did with the palette knife. This is all the work we did with a sponge. And then I added this tree and a few lines down here just for some finishing touches because I can't leave anything alone. And we did all this on a cereal box. I mean, my whole thing is let's just forget about being perfect about things and let's just start to move some paint around. Normally when I start my painting process, I say a little prayer to invite the Holy Spirit in to help us move in ways that we wouldn't normally do. So Father God, please come help us paint right now. Let us get into the Spirit and into your divine creativity. All right. With that, let's move forward and let's get this painting going. I'm going to flip my screen. Yep. And we're going to go down like this. This arm on this thing drives me crazy. It probably has to do with. And then this time I'm going to scooch in. I'm just going to, hold on. We're getting there. All right, and I'm going to be closer today because I noticed yesterday that I could have been closer. So if you guys have any comments or questions, please let me know. And one more drink of coffee, and then I'm going to show you what we're painting over. So I was at a post-prom party earlier this week, and we had like 5 different options that the kids could paint. We, meaning me, I had 5 different options that the kids could paint. This was one of them, and this was just, it was done in a hurry. There was, but we're gonna we're gonna paint over this, and that there's twofold. So I just use gesso to paint over. But honestly, if you don't have gesso, you could probably put a coat of glue over the top, and then it would adhere to the glue. I don't know, just a thought. I'm always looking for ways for people to try different stuff. I love experimentation, so you're going to hear me experiment a lot. So we're going to paint over this with some gesso. And you can see that texture underneath. I didn't sand this. You could sand off all the bumps if you wanted to. I think it's kind of cool to just leave it the way it is. I am going to be face painting this weekend at a free event in Nerstrand, Minnesota. So it's Mother's Day weekend. If the kids want to come out from 9 to 1, if you're going to do a family outing on Saturday, kids can get their face painted. I only charge $5 for that, but it's a May market in Nerstrand, Minnesota. Come on out for some fun. All right, so I do a very thin layer on this because I want it to dry quickly. I need to turn this light on too. Is that easy to see or no? Like, I'm always worried about that. Yesterday, I noticed I was a little too far away. And I have all these lights in my studio, so I kind of want to get it the right way. It's a little wet, so it's a little shiny, but I think that will suffice. Let me get this light on too. Yeah, you know, the struggle's real. Yep, there we go. I use long handle brushes, so sometimes it's, you'll see me using my brush in weird ways, but anyway. The first thing that I like to do when I'm painting, so I can get rid of this white canvas, is I like to be super random and just have fun with my mark making. I'm going to put a little bit more gesso on here. And sometimes I use pencil for that. Or charcoal or marker. Today we'll use paint for the ease of what we're doing. You know, I think I'm going to get an easel so I can just sit this up. It'll probably work better. This brush has crusty stuff on it, and so I keep the brushes that I forget to get all the glue out of or whatever around for mark making, because it gives me extra marks there. And actually, we're just going to paint a really big daisy today. Or sunflower. It might turn out to be a sunflower. So I'm going to go in the portrait orientation. And I think I am going to get an easel for us. One moment, please, as I rearrange our studio time. I just thought I could make it work like this, and I don't gonna be. Oh yeah. Okay. Get to have some insight into the back of my studio. Okay. So this is an 8x10. I don't like this easel because this part down here is wobbly. But it'll work. It'll work for today. I have another one that I'll bring in. All right. Here we are. Okay. So let me get the water out of the way, and let's get to painting. So this has dried, and now I'm going to do some random marks in the back so I can release my spirit of perfectionism, and so I can have fun. This is the fun part. We got to make a mess. So I'm going to use my favorite colors, and I'm just literally going to make a mess. I want the flower to be in the center, so probably going to go on the outsides there. My favorite colors are this blue and turquoise kind of color. So just get on there and have some fun. If you have some paint markers, that's kind of fun too. Just make a messy background. Have some fun. I'm going to squirt some water on this. I'm going to try to squirt some water on this. This squirt bottle is not my favorite. Get some drippies going there. And then I have this. This is kind of a silicone palette knife. I promise, guys, it'll all make sense. But this is my favorite part. I just love moving paint around without a care in the world and getting the background kind of the way I want it. This is how you can learn. I mean, when you're doing this kind of motion, this is a great way to learn how to use some of your tools and learn what a light mark would do versus a heavy-handed mark, or learn how to use some of your palette knives to see what kind of marks they would make, what a makeup sponge would do. So now we're going to move a makeup sponge, use a makeup sponge, and it's a really wet canvas. So now I can remove some spots that I want to really focus on. And so what I'm doing is I'm making that center of my flower, and then I'm kind of putting in where I want the petals to go. Number one, it'll help it dry faster. Number two, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. And if I was doing a rose, maybe we'll do that. We'll do a rose instead. I changed my mind. I'm liking the shape of the rose better. So a rose is a lot of different circular. A beginning rose is a lot of different circular. And I think a rose is best because I'm going to show you how to do that quickly. Believe it or not. Okay. Now I have a wet brush and I'm just pulling out some different C shapes, upside down C's and regular smiley face C's, and making a jagged edge on the edge. We can start to see it already, can't we? But we're not done. We're not done yet. So you can see here what I did is I'm making petals by making these see the smiley face motions. So we have a triangle, and a half circle, okay? That's the base shape of our flower. And now we're going in with some smiley face motions. All right, but what about the background, Erin? That looks kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy, and I'm probably going to leave it that way. But I'm going to add in the background some gold and white. And I'm going to smooth it out a bit, but not a whole lot. I want those brush marks in there. This is going to be really expressive and rather abstract. Sorry, I hit the... I love gold tones. And I think our rose today, for all those mamas out there, our rose today is going to be pink. I really want the gold to touch in a few spots where the rose is going to blend in to the background. Now this is my color palette. You can pick whatever color palette you want. This is the one that I'm doing. But whatever color palette you pick, you're going to want your background offset color. That's what this gold is for me. Not in all the spots, but in enough spots to come up and touch the edge of the rose. It doesn't have to be perfect because we can't do art wrong. We're just moving paint around right now. And this background is going to be pretty crazy. However, that's the look that I'm going for. If you want a smooth background, you can do that. I don't think it would have as much interest, but you can certainly do that. And I encourage you to figure out how to play. So now that rose is going to be pretty highlighted. This is just what I do. You can do any practice you want, but this, I'm showing you what I do. And I'm showing you in ways that make it easy and simple for a beginner to start practicing. Because honestly, that's really what it takes. It just takes a little bit of practice. I'm going to leave this magenta down here. I think that's pretty cool looking. And I want a little bit over here. Little magenta over here. Okay. So now what we have is we have an outline of where the boundaries of our rose are. And then we have a really fun background with some interesting things. I'm going to interest this up a little bit by making it darker. Same with over here. All right. We're coming up on our time limit here, so I'm going to keep moving. I'm trying to keep these videos at 45 minutes or less. I think that's real important. Because then it's easy to come back to, but it's easy to get done in one sitting. So now we have some of the dark foundation colors already, but I am going to push the envelope a little bit more, and I'm going to go and add in a dioxazine purple, and I'm going to start bringing in these shapes here. And I want the darkest down first. We're going to go dark to light with acrylic paint. Watercolor would be the opposite. Oil would be, well, someplace similar. And wherever I put those lines in before, I'm adding the dark. And this is an abstract piece. It's kind of wet on wet technique. And a lot of our stuff that we work on will be wet on wet technique unless I get the dryer in here, which could happen too. You can see I'm holding my paintbrush this way as opposed to this way. I paint like this a lot because then I can move the paintbrush in my hand and make the marks the way I want to. Can you hear Lucy in the background? She is just something else. That is her language. She whines constantly. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit right here. Now I'm going to clean my brush. It's starting to shape up, isn't it? Starting to shape up. So I'm going to take that same purple and mix it in with some white. So I still have a darker color, but I'm going to fade it into the edge back here. Can you hear her? She's so funny. And I don't want you to get so blendy because that's where people, I think, myself included when I was first starting to paint, I think that's where people get real frustrated. They start blending and then they don't like how it looks blended. Get used to seeing things with brush strokes and work in really big brush stroke sections and refine as you go. So it all starts off loosely. All right, can you guys see it? I know. It always gets ugly before it gets better. That's the truth. And you know what? Maybe this one won't turn out, but we're having fun in the process. That's the other thing. If I could give any recommendations, it would be don't hang on too loosely to a painting working out. I'm going to tell you about at least 2/3 of my paintings don't work out. And I have to rework them and start over. No joke. And I would bet if you talk to any of the artists that are showing regularly on any sort of reel, they would probably tell you the same thing. What they're showing you are the ones that turn out great. But it's all a practice of exploration and having fun. Okay, now I'm going to take really thick paint. Lucy, stop. I'm not going to cover up all that blue underneath. This is my first petal right here. And in fact, I want a bigger brush. bigger brush. I want a bigger brush. I want to use this big of a brush. This is just from the paint store, the hardware store. Because I was getting too much control in that. I still need to be very loose in my work here. And this might be one that we finish tomorrow, you know? Probably not, but. Now the outsides of these edges, a rose, you're going to have a petal, and then a petal, and then a petal, and then here you're going to have petals. And when you're moving your brush around, I want you to follow the shape. So I don't want you to always go like this. So if the petal goes like that, I want your brush to go like that. If the petal goes like this, I want your brush to go like that. That creates movement and energy in your painting. And right now I'm using a combination of a pale pink and a fluorescent pink to create my marks. And I'm kind of trying to stay within those confines of those black, darker purple marks that we made. I don't want that all blended in, not just, yeah, we're gonna work on some of that, but that's not how this goes right now. I encourage you to learn how to paint as quickly as you can so you don't get stuck in the spirit of perfectionism. I know I say that a lot, but it's really important. All right, so this is turning out quite nicely. So I like this petal here, and I like what we have going on right here where it kind of is tilting out. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm going to accentuate that a little bit more. So now all I did was I added the white to the pink. We're going to start putting in some highlights here. We're going to draw a straight line. Okay, and where there's a highlight, we're going to need to have something darker. So I'm going to go back in with the hot pink and some magenta and mix that together, this magenta that we used down here, to give ourselves a darker color. And I'm going to come underneath right here, right underneath the highlight, and create a low light. So those of you ladies who get your hair done, highlights and lowlights, you're familiar with that term. In the art world, it's called a shadow, but I want to use terms that you're used to. And then we're going to have some mid-value range as well. I'm using thick, heavy paint here. I think we need a little dark right in the middle here to give it some definition and some shape. because now we've just created 2 edges, haven't we? We have this one here that's on the outer, and then we have this one here that is about to tip into the flower. And that's really what I wanted to do. And then we have this one that is a flat surface. Yeah. And then you futz with it and get to doing stuff you don't want to do. So that one has some definition now. Let's give this one some definition, but not much. I don't want it to be a focal point. So I'm just going to do my lighter mixture of hot fluorescent pink. And a tiny bit of white right here. Okay, so now let's build the rest of this. Oh, look at what the Father is doing with us today. This is really a fun rose. And you know, I recommend having several canvases like I just used where you could paint over them. And then if you like something, don't paint over it. Keep it. Or if you can't get it all done at one time, oh, okay. I'm a very fast painter. So right now what I'm doing is I'm creating some light ridges of where those petals are hitting the sunlight. And creating some depth and definition. Keep going in and getting paint and remixing. You don't have to mix all your colors right at once. In fact, I don't recommend it. I want this side to kind of shove off into the background. So it's going to remain pretty abstract to that side. Keep looking in my camera just to make sure. We're going to give this some... Squiggle your brush around too. Did you like that technical term? Squiggle. I'm just moving my brush. It's almost like a little shaking to it. Squiggle it. Now we lost some of that center, so I need to go back in with that. Just adding in some darker purple where we lost some of it. Okay. I want this to kind of fade off into the back and that to kind of fade off that way. I'm going to continue to play with this. I want to thank everyone for joining. The full video will be on my YouTube. And they live on Facebook for about 30 days. But the full video will be also posted to my YouTube channel, which is mosaicfilledlife.com, or Mosaic Filled Life on YouTube. So you can always go back to the full tutorial there. But do you see how this is sinking in? We still have the highlight of the petals, but it's sinking in. This is kind of muted into the background, and then our biggest details are right up front here. That's really what I wanted to go for. It's starting to come into shape and to bloom. One last thing, if we were going to add a petal, it would be really very abstract, and I'm just using a sap green. I'll lift this up. I wouldn't give it much attention at all because I don't want it to take up any presence. I want it there, but I don't want it to take up any weight, if that makes sense. So that's even a little too much. So I think I'm going to work on shoving that into the background too. After it dries a little bit. So at this point, what I would do is I would either wait for it to dry, or knowing me, I would still futz with it. And I would go down to a smaller brush, like this size, a small little detail brush. And I would start to pull out details that I wanted to highlight. I'm going to bring in some of the gold that I have in the background into my painting. Sorry, I was silent there for a minute. I was concentrating. So you could continue to push the boundary by making this part even a little darker. Using a real steady hand. When you're using white or a very light value, you're going to use very little pure, just pure white. And just enough to put on the edges. It's not a heavy-handed thing. Yeah. Just enough to give us clear definition of where the outliers are and to create the layers. So this is technically an abstract expressionism style. Which is a lot of times what I paint. So if you're into that kind of thing, I'd love for you to follow me. Both here and on YouTube. That would be awesome. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining.